Okay, thank you. All right, now we're happy that we come to the chapter 5, the Buddhist cosmos, and what we call the 3,000-fold words. In Chinese, 3,000大千世界. Okay, it's I mean that's kind of like this is not like a new term. It's really when the Buddhism starts, when we say the word, the cosmos, and then we always understand it's like big. There's no edge. Okay, there's no boundary. But what we call usually the term we use is the 3,000-fold word, and or you could say 3,000. I don't know, but 3,000大千. But anyway, that's how they translate in English. 3,000-fold word. The universe is vast and big. Okay. And of course, then we are here not to. This chapter we will talk that later. But I need to just say, in general, from Buddhism, of course, when the Buddhism starts, that never just believe that the earth is the only place that, living beings exist. Because I think for theology reason, and then they have to solve one problem is that when you say that there are divine beings where they live, where they are. And also there are so many kinds of divine beings, and you need to explain all these things. And then why there are differences, why there one kind of places is better than the other place. When they say better, supposedly they have a better, facilities, kind of like, or they even physically looks different too, and so forth. And then of course another question that always faced during the Buddha's time is that people always asking the questions whether the world is have the edge or no without the edge. 就有边还是没有边. So, but it's very clear from the early Buddhist perspective, the Buddha always basically like to answer this question, and he doesn't think that really helpful. If that would be the first question that when you're really interested in spiritual life, and then if your mind only deal with that, deal with that problem. Anyway, let's look at this this book, how the book relate to this Buddhist cosmos, which is actually a very important subject, because that also not about the cosmos, it's also about the psychology in relation to the cosmos, as well as that in other words also about the practice side of it, meditation. Okay. All right, now the first under paragraph is the small paragraph is what we call the subtitle is of the space and time word systems. Okay. I think maybe best someone to read that first. In the chapter 3, we saw how the Buddha's teachings seek to address a problem of dukkha and suffering. So we understand that whatever circumstances and condition of existence is, or either the good or bad one, they are always ultimately changeable and unreliable. And from a Buddhist perspective, and hence what we call the dukkha. Okay. But if you are not familiar with the term, dukkha in Chinese is苦. But actually sometimes English like to translate as suffering, or sometimes translate as unsatisfactory, and unsatisfactoriness and unsatisfactoriness. But that's translation. But the best way to understand is kind of understand things are changeable and unreliable. That's why we call dukkha. Complete understanding of the first noble truth is said to consist of complete knowledge of the nature of dukkha. In other words, to Buddhism, when you do practices or even a Buddhist theory, you do have the main principle of Buddhism. The main principle of Buddhism is the Four Noble Truths, right? One of the main principles. The Four Noble Truths, the first truth, that what we call is as that's the truth of the dukkha. So, okay, now we understand that now. So one of the preoccupations of Buddhist theory then is exhaustive analysis of all possible conditions and circumstances of existence. Buddhist thought process that analyzes dukkha from two different angles. In other words, this is very interesting. Yeah, please join. It's very interesting. The Buddhist thought approach analysis of dukkha in two different angles. Now this is usually people don't write that way. But even though, of course, I agree with him. But when you look at the Buddhist text, and when you look at the Buddhist text, when you talk about the dukkha actually, you can also understand it from two angles. One is called a cosmological and the other psychological. Well, what does it mean? It takes two different, but in the Buddhist view of things, fundamentally relate question. First, what are the possible circumstances a being can be born, exist, or die, right? And the second, what are the possible states of mind a being might experience? I mean, that's definitely, usually, what my understanding is, the first one is like people who are, say, Asian people, whether they really understand Buddhism correctly or non-correctly, but they might know that, Buddhism is something that maybe relate to something the born and the die. Definitely, they know about that. Like, Buddhism talk about why you were born here, and when you die, where you will go, how you'll be reincarnated, or where you will be born, like that. But not necessarily, unfortunately, in Asia, not necessarily will understand in the possible state of mind as a being might experience. Asking a lot of Chinese, if you say, do you know that Buddhism actually teaching about how you solve your mind problem? No, I don't know. That's very interesting. But on the contrary, in the West, if most of the people, I'm not saying that people are really into Buddhism much, but generally they would take Buddhism as they know it's a religion, but they don't know what religion means for that, at least. But they definitely think that Buddhism is something to do with the mind, and that is very clear. Now here, I think this book is one of the unique is also now he trying to combine the two, which is, I definitely, as I just mentioned above, I mentioned before, it is what I agree with also. Anyway, we must understand first that the possible circumstances of being can be born, exist, and dying, and the second, what are the possible state of mind a being might experience. So the complete Buddhist answer to this question is classically expressed in the Abhidhamma system. Okay, well, if you don't know what is Abhidhamma, but generally is what we have, so-called, we have three baskets, right? Just Sanzang, and then you have the Sutta Pitaka, mean the canon, or you could say three canons. And one canon is only what we believe to mostly were taught by the Buddha, and we preserve it, like you could say the holy book, something like that. And the second one is what we call the canon of the rules. Mostly talk about, what happened in those days, what kind of problem, and why those Buddhist rules been set out, especially for the monks and nuns, okay? So that's what we call the Vinaya, mean the canon of the rules, or you could say the canon of the, the monastic codes mostly. But not only talk about it, they also talk about lots of stories or why this practice is not fell for the person, and after some time what kind of realization he did, and then he pick up the meditation good and achieve successfully and so forth. Anyway, another canon is called Abhidhamma. Okay, in Chinese usually. I don't think it's a correct way to say that, but Chinese usually say that as a Lun Zhan, but the correct way to say is Abhidhamma Zhan, okay, or Bitan Zhan. But this is, I think, in the West also is not much heard from the people, because actually it's a system. It's a kind of, you could understand it as a kind of like systematically collect all the important, you could say items from the teachings, and then systematically been arranged. For example, how many types of mind are being there, how many types of hindrances we have, how many types of the, what we call, these defilements we got, and when somebody reached that state of practices, what kind of defilement will be removed, and then what kind of technique is good for that, and if you want to follow the whole path, what's the whole path is about. This is, but nothing to do with the story, purely only the items, and then the system of the items. So, usually you have to learn Abhidhamma. Sometimes some people in the earlier time translate it as kind of like psychology, Buddhist psychology. But definitely it's not just psychology, because Buddhism would never believe that psychological only exists without the material. So anyway, so that's called the Abhidhamma. So anyway, so the complete Buddhist answer to this question is classically expressed in the Abhidhamma system, because, or you can understand Abhidhamma sometimes actually serves as kind of like a commentary also to answer some question which is, or to arrange it in a systematical way, or answer some question as to what the Buddhist text did not clarify, you could say that way also. That's also part of the job of Abhidhamma. Especially the northern school, like Abhidhamma Kosa, they have a really big passage about the cosmos. But in contrast to the Pali Abhidhamma doesn't really have such a lots of story about that. But you do have a similar story all in the commentary, in Pali commentary. I mean, because we didn't translate the commentary in English or any other language, unless you read Pali, but all in the commentary, but not in the Abhidhamma. The Abhidhamma text, they do have the number, but not clearly related. Anyway, I don't want to dwell in that too much. Just want to say, if you want to say that I want to look for this cosmology or cosmo understanding, either in a psychological way of explain in the material way, but you could find those answers in Abhidhamma, especially in Abhidhamma. In Sutta, of course, you have that, but it's not like clearly, illuminate all those the message or the teachings. Okay, in this chapter, I want to look primarily at the first question, though, as I have just suggested, this cannot be entirely separate from the second. To begin with, however, I shall return to certain those questions raised by the monk Malunkhya Buddha, because it's very important when you study Buddhism. So we have to first know the intentionally, in early time, what the Buddha actually approached to this question. So that's why I guess, that's why it's good that when you find the right book to read, otherwise people telling you, oh, that's actually what the Buddha trying to tell you, all the cosmos, how it begins, how the cosmos goes, blah, blah. But that definitely never been intentional. But you have to understand what's the Buddha's intention at first. So by quoting this sutra, Malunkhya Buddha Sutta, actually to reply to Malunkhya, not only him, there are several persons asking a similar question, but you could find the Buddha actually have the same kind of response. Okay, right. Why don't we start to read this one? The next one, who want to start to read? Do you know where are you now? Or you don't? Or maybe then. So yeah, that we come to second paragraph now, as we have seen. Okay.
As we have seen, among the questions he demanded that the Buddha answer were whether or not the universe was eternal and whether or not it was finite. The Buddha refused to give categorical answers, but that does not mean that he had nothing to say on the subjects raised by these questions. I have already introduced the bare concept of samsara, or the round of rebirths. But when did it all begin? How long, according to Buddha's thinking on the matter, have you and I, together with other beings, been wandering from birth to death through samsara?
Yeah. Next one want to read? Next, okay, just we have more chance to read. Yeah.
In response to just this question, the Buddha is said to have declared that samsara beginning was inconceivable and that its starting point could not be indicated. He went on to ask the group of monks he was addressing which they thought was greater, the mother's milk they had drunk in the course of their long journey through samsara or the water in the four great oceans. Certainly the mother's milk drunk by you is greater, they were told. We have, it seemed, been wandering in samsara for eons.
Eons. Eons, yeah.
Eons. But how long is an eon? When asked this question, the Buddha refused to answer in terms of numbers of years or hundreds or even thousands of years. Instead, he gave a smile.
No, simile, not a smile. That might be the reason why, in Zen Buddhism, especially Chinese people are really take that very seriously. Once the Buddha was in a big assembly, and then the Buddha just sit there. No, he didn't speak anything. Every monks were waiting why the Buddha didn't open his mouth and say something. And then it's said that then the Buddha just pick up the flower, and then only one of the very like a senior disciple smile with the Buddha. And then according to the Zen, still is a beautiful story, but then the Zen in Chinese tradition kind of like that's how the Buddha, and the Buddha know, oh, you understand what I'm saying. So kind of like, beyond language. So when you say smile, I have to say that story sounds wonderful, but I mean, I depends on how you look at it, But then the Chinese really think that that is a way to say, because in Zen, later on in Zen have a tradition saying that beyond language, don't talk, language cannot, and don't read nothing, this is not useful. So, and they always quote that kind of event and say, but of course we never know whether this event happened also, but anyway, it's really popular. And we never see like really the text say anything, but definitely in Chinese Buddhism, you somehow take it as really seriously, But anyway, so not smile, okay? So instead he gave a smile, then you go back to the Zen tradition, No, actually he gave a simile. All right. Just, do you want to read the next one to read? Okay, next one to read, I guess. We have more chance for other people. Suppose, yeah. The simile, yeah.
Suppose
there was, yeah.
There was a great mountain of rock, 7 miles across and 7 miles high, a solid mass without any cracks. At the end of every 100 years, a man might brush it just once with a fine banali clothes.
Benares. It's from India.
Benares.
It's a holy city in India.
Yeah, Benares, yeah.
That great mountain of rock would decay and come to an end sooner than ever in the eon. So long is an eon, and of eon of this length, not just one has passed, not just 100, not just 1,000, not just 100,000.
Okay. Well, okay. Why don't we just finish that first? Yeah, okay. And the next paragraph in this, yeah. If this, yeah. Yeah.
Sure. If this is how the age of the universe is to be conceived, what of its spatial extent? On other occasion, the Buddha told a householder, Kaveda, of a monk who wished to discover just where the 4 elements of earth, water, fire, and wind ceased completely. We can understand this as wishing to discover the limits of the physical universe. The monk was a master of meditation, and so was able to attain a state of concentration in which he was able to visit the realms of various devas or gods and put his questions to them. First he approached the gods of the 4 kings. They were unable to answer his question, but directed him yet to higher gods, who in turn passed him on to still higher gods. The gods of 33, the Yama gods, the contented gods, the gods who delight in creation, the masters of the creation of others, the gods of Brahma. None could answer his question. Finally, he approached the great Brahma himself, who repeatedly answered only that he was a great Brahma, mighty, unconquerable, all-seeing, master, Lord, maker, creator, overseer, controller, father of all who are and will be. In the face of the monk's persistence, great Brahma eventually took him aside and confessed that he too did not know where the elements ceased, and suggested that the monk return to the Buddha and put the question to him. The Buddha's answer, we are told, was that where the 4 elements cease completely is in the consciousness that knows nirvana.
All right, thank you. Okay. I think, yeah, we can still keep on reading the next one. The story from Kevada Sutta.
Okay. This story from the Kevada Sutta, Discourse to the Kevada, indicates how, in the traditional Buddhist view of things, the universe is not to be thought of as just inhabited by the beings that make up the human and animal world, but also by various classes of deva, or god, that form a hierarchy of increasing subtlety and refinement. Thus, the world comprises its gods, its Mara, and Brahma, this generation with its ascetics and Brahmins, with its princes and peoples. Moreover, elsewhere, the earliest texts inform us that there is not just one such world with its gods, its Mara and Brahma. In fact, the universe as a whole comprises vast numbers of world spheres, or world systems.
It's okay, Chakravada.
Chakravada. Each with its gods, its Mara and Brahma. Clusters of 1,000 world spheres may be ruled over by yet higher gods called great Brahmas, but it would be wrong to conclude that there is any one or final overarching great Brahma, God the Creator. It may be that beings come to take a particular great Brahma as creator of the world, and a great Brahma may himself even form the idea that he is creator. But this is just the result of delusion on the part of both parties. In fact, the universe receives ever upwards, with one class of great Brahma being surpassed by a further higher class of great Brahma.
All right. Can we continue? So how many word systems?
So how many word systems are there in all? The early Nikaya, Agama, texts sometimes talk in terms of the thousand-fold word system, the twice-thousand-fold word system, the thrice-thousand-fold word system. Okay, according to
Vasubandhu.
The last of these embraces a total of a trillion word system, according to the
Buddhaghosa.
The first was a billion, second was a trillion.
The second was a trillion.
A trillion.
Gosh, it's like the dead. It goes up every day.
Okay, a trillion. But even such a vast number cannot define the full extent of the universe. It merely the highest explicit number of word systems reported in their tradition. There is no spatial limit to the extent of word systems. Buddhaghosa tells us in the
Arthasalini,
providing the meaning, that if four great Brahmas from the realm of the supreme gods were to set off in four directions at a speed which allowed them to traverse 100,000 word systems in the time it takes a swift arrow to pass over the shadow of a palm tree. They would reach nirvana without ever finding the limit of word systems. Great Brahmas of realm of the supreme gods are being in their last existence, who are certain of reaching final nirvana at the end of their lives, which lasts 16,000 aeons, bearing in mind the similar for the length of an eon. I leave it to the reader to ponder how many hundreds of thousands of word systems these great Brahmas might traverse in 16,000 aeons.
Don't ask me this question, okay? This is a very difficult, tricky question. Okay, we can. All right, yes. What's your, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I remember the Buddha said that you can only reach nirvana as a being of, like, basically male.
No.
You can be a female
No.
or a body of no sex.
No, we never have that. I never heard about that. That's the first time. Of course, when I say first time, it's not in the Buddhist text. No.
I remember earlier.
No, actually, if you want to know, only difference is that according what they understand on the earth here, but that's only on the earth. We are not talking about other universe system. On the earth here, it's believed that only male can be the Buddha, but not nirvana. Everybody can be nirvana, but to be the Buddha, always the Buddha has been defined that you are the first one who discovered the truth, and then
Right.
Not only because you discovered the truth and you attained enlightenment, but you also started to spread the teachings, and then you have disciples, and it become kind of community over there. Of course, that's arguable nowadays. Some people say, why only the male can be a Buddha? Only that, but not nirvana. Everybody can nirvana.
Okay.
But but it's just the Buddha, all right?
Yeah.
But don't argue with that point also now. That's a set over there too. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions? No, the nirvana, okay? We understand.
Okay. So
you can be arahant. Women can be arahant, the perfect person, the fully enlightened one. You could, a perfect, you can, not fully enlightened. Usually fully enlightened is for the word of Buddha, but mean complete enlightened. Yeah. And according to the universe system, it's believed that the next Buddha will come here. It still have more than 10 billion years. Yeah.
From now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So don't expect. I mean, even though in China, actually the Chinese history in the past, there was some cult there, and even one of the famous cult is said actually he was born as the brother of Jesus, but also the reincarnation of the Maitreya Buddha, that he will become a Buddha. That he combined the two religions. It was really kind of popular cult in 那个是几时啊？白莲教那是多少？ That was during the Qing dynasty. Now 16th century. No. I think it's maybe 18th century, something like that. Yeah.
Close to the end.
Yeah, close to the end already. Yeah. So like that. But then if you really learn Buddhism, no. Unfortunately, if you wait for the next Buddha to come, you had to wait for 1 billion years at least. Even if not 10 billion years, but at least billion years. So, and this is also one other thing. We don't believe the earth now is going to destruct. Because according to Buddhists understand, the earth is one day we're going to destruct, because that's how the things appear and destruct. But that definitely not in a billion years. It's still, we are getting hotter and hotter, even in the Buddhist prediction. Until it's said, until the sky appears 7 suns. Well, when we say 7 suns, my understanding is because when you're closer than the sun, when the earth kind of go closer than the sun, because of the position change, you could see some other planet as the sun, So then that time the earth have no water, too hot, and people have to migrate to other planets. That's what the Buddhism say. And some people, of course, they couldn't migrate, maybe cannot afford or whatever, and they stay here in suffering. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. That's all record in the Abhidhamma. Just now we mentioned about the whole world system. Okay. Yeah. All right, any other question from what we have read? No? Any comment?
I kind of feel, basically you get the concept, it's very, very big, very, very long. So don't worry about the detail. Yeah,
I mean, the simile said that very clear. Actually, when you say that, just remind me that the Benares is Varanasi nowadays, in Benares. Benares actually, why do you mention the cloth in the Benares? Because during the Buddha's time especially, even now, still traditionally, if you're married, you need to get if you're rich people, you need to get the material from Benares in Varanasi. Many reasons. One reason is I believe that their craftsmanship is really good. And also, it's a spiritual place there also. And historically, in whole Indian believe that one of the spiritual places there. So then you kind of you not only because you get a really good cloth with a good craftsmanship, but it's also because it's a spiritual place and kind of like blessing for your wedding. And of course, the material is really good and it's very soft. Imagine here, it said that when you brush against the stone, the rock, it's not talking about you're using the sandpaper, that the most soft cloth to brush again. And it's just a simile to say, a really, really long time. If you want to see what is aeon is. Of course, by the same time, actually, definitely later on in Buddhism, we don't know how accurate that will be. Or do we really have to reliable with that? Is that the most reliable source? That I forgot the number. That 1 aeon, we do have the number count. 1 aeon is equal to how many years of the Earth year. But anyway, I think, I did mention that later on, I guess. I don't know whether I mentioned here already. Yeah.
There's a chart.
Huh?
There's a chart in the next couple pages, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, right.
It's about
yes.
So, there's 2 questions. One is, did the Buddha ever mention extraterrestrial visits, since there's so many?
No, we don't say the terrestrial. I don't know, but we definitely Buddhism understands there the word called the Brahma word, right? As I mentioned, the Brahma word generally refer to the more divine people, and they have a good mind mostly, but they also get angry as well sometimes. They can piss off by other opponent, the Mara. Mara actually they are divine beings as well. But usually people understand Mara, they translate the Mara as a demon. That is not really appropriate, I mean, in English, because basically in English, demon is represent almost always evil and something that they always, or even you could say someone that live in a hell. But someone that live in a hell in Buddhism is a word called yama, yemo. But I want to say that it's mean, no, we didn't say much there, but we do say the Mara word is kind of like, they also have a happy time, but then they may look very strange. They might be really, I mean, not like the Devas are supposedly traditionally understand like very beautiful. Not only they have a body, have a light, but they are what? But the Mara may be completely different. They can look very angry. They can be really different looks, but they are very powerful as well, just like the divine beings.
Like,
yeah.
Do they ever visit Earth?
Yes, in Buddhism belief they do visit Earth. One of the clear cases when the Buddha about attending the enlightenment, the full enlightenment, both visit the Earth. One is that the Mara was visited, challenged the Buddha already.
Like, do they visit Earth on a UFO?
No, we don't say. Well, I mean, this is one other thing. What I want to say is, I'm not sure about that, but we never say about UFO. Here it mentioned actually they could fly. I mean, it also depend on where they live in a different kind of what you call. That's why we translate ayatana. The word is kind of rhyme. We don't say like a planet. We only mention they live in a different universal system. But sometimes that kind of system not necessarily have been understood as the way we understand as like a land. We travel here to there. For example, it's say that if they come down here, they could just like shoot and then just like our stretching our arms, they appear. So they don't need to fly in the way like we understand. Now we are talking about the powerful beings now as a Brahma, but it could be some other means to come down here. We don't know. That never mentioned about that. Yeah, I don't know.
But how about that sutta in Digha Nikaya, Aganya Sutta?
Yeah, that is okay. That's a good point. Okay, looks like I have a lot of exam now. Let me answer that. Well, because it said that how that was. You can go back and read a sutta called Aganya Sutta. I forgot the number. Digha Nikaya number 27. Okay. So the long discourse, if you are interested, just look for a long discourse called Aganya Sutta, because there was a text. There was a text mentioned about how we are here. It's believed that actually the first so-called human being there, we are when the earth was about to complete form, and it's still the land is still soft and the air is still floating with kind of like what milky white sort of thing. Actually, it's eatable also. And then when the earth really becomes solid and start to grow the mushroom, I mean automatically because the environment that the mushroom will grow. Before that, about grow up, actually the beings come from a different kind of realm of heavens, came down here, and they fly down. So what kind of thing they fly, we don't know. Just say he fly down. But they have a light in the body. They do have light. But however, because then they started to feel curious about the earth food and they take the food, that's how then the light disappear. And they only said that they couldn't go back to the place. Is because they couldn't fly back or because something that carried them and gone? We don't know. And that's how the first settlement maybe on the earth is set. And anyway, I don't know how reliable the story could be, because for that reason also the Buddhism never really take that as a very serious, like other religions always talk, okay, what is the first being, like Adam and Eve and so forth. We don't have those things, even though we have a text. Actually, that text not only in Pali, you have all traditions have the same text, but nobody like to talk about it because I guess it's approach like we just going to read, or we just come to know. It's not the big concern. We have to find that. I don't know, but somehow that if you take that seriously, or even if you take that really, that's Buddha said, and that really Buddha tried to, even though the text is not, the point is not about the first human being. The point is only how the human later on being corrupted because of the selfish reason. That was the main point. But even though like that, but if you take that other side as a serious way, and you could say, yes, actually, we do think that to Buddhist understanding, the first settlement on the earth, we come from other place. But that's kind of clear. We are not born out of nothing. We definitely come from other place, yeah. And that because your ancestors that couldn't go back. And also, okay, go back and read the Aganya Sutta. So, yeah, it mentioned there already. Look at the Digha, when you could write a long discourse of Digha Nikaya. Yeah. All right. Yeah. One more question? Okay.
Sorry. So, in what way do the great Brahmas, like, sort of rule the world, rule their realm? Like, in what way? Like, is Earth also?
No, they don't rule the earth. It just only, it's, okay, generally understand the Brahma word, there are so many Brahma's word. Because that term had to, when you say the Brahma's word, the word Brahma during the Buddha's time is always understand I like the God, okay, or the only God. We don't say only God, the God, like the big one, not like divine, the deities, but the God. And that's the word, but we want to retain the original word, Brahma. So, and then there are many kind of God word, the word that ruled by the God. But the only difference is that in one particular place that's called, here usually we say the Greek Brahma, mostly we refer to the God that believe he is the creator. And that is, in Buddhist, you will read the chart later. Actually, the place that he believed he is the one who created the universe. But that is actually, but then he also know above his kind of, how to say, the ruling place, there was still higher God, like more refined kind of God. But it's not his concern. It's just the whole thing, because it's a belief that that kind of universe is really big. The Earth cannot compare. Definitely is maybe, I say 100 times is just a word, maybe 1,000 or maybe 10,000, 100 billion times bigger than the Earth. It just, the people born there were not born as like we born because of with emperor, right? But they were born like they just appear. And when they appear, when they were born to appear, everybody said, you appear because he created you. So that's why he believed that I am here is because I've been created by the Brahma. So that is in the first jhana. First jhana, the place called the Greek Brahma word. Okay, but then as I say, just now the good story mentioned, then one of the monks, he is very powerful in his supernatural power, that he could actually can even disappear here and emerge in the heavens. And he keep on asking the question, how can I completely not destroy, completely seize the four elements? So actually then he went to the Brahma world. And then that's why it said, the story said, then the Brahma took him in a high place, say, don't ask me this question, I don't know. Look at so many people, look at me. How can you just embarrass me, something like that? So then he said, go back to ask your Buddha, because that I don't know. So that's why he came back, that. Anyway, that's how the Buddhists understand it. The only one word system believe that he is the creator. Of course, in Buddhist understanding, we say, somehow he's correct in a certain way, because he do very powerful in that his own praise, but it doesn't mean the whole universe was created by him. But as I just mentioned, he also knows somehow, just like in America, I guess, even though America is now changed, because now the world system is changed, because the information is different. Otherwise, in old day, every king think that I'm the only king, right? In China, no, I'm the 天子, so I'm the only king. So, but somehow does he know any other country have a king? Yes. Does it matter? That doesn't matter. Maybe they're powerful than you, but no, I'm still the most powerful, So, but you know what I'm saying. So anyway, okay, that's how the Buddhists understand the whole cosmology system. Yeah. Okay, why don't we just go on first, rather than I just speak and say. Maybe we can skip. Do we have to skip the other one? Yeah, because that's a big about Dharma where they mentioned that. That's really. Okay, why don't we just look at the next paragraph according to the developed cosmology of Abhidharma, page 115.